Hi there and welcome to this video about using parameters with the functions that we create. Now we can see as an example we're used to using gfx.write and we can see that what we do when we call that function is we're placing a value inside of it, in this case a string value, and that gets passed to the function to allow it to do what it's got to do, which in this case is to write that text to the screen. We're also used to seeing this when we go into the ELC functions. And if we pick sort of, any functions, let's say 2D rectangle. There we go. So we can see in this case we've got lots of different parameters and they're all there in the brackets separated here, and we can see what these actually are down here, like a list of parameters. So we can see that using parameters in that way is actually fairly common, but we need to be able to do the same when we create our own functions to make them work well. So let's just have a look and sort of see what we're doing. Now let's say that we wanted to create a function that would square a number. So if we have a number that we'd like to square, then we pass it to this function and have it work like that. So our function, if we just create it, so let's say we call it square me. Okay, and we might put inside of here number to square. Okay, so we can see it's a number variable. We haven't got any dollar sign at the end of it there. Okay, and what we would want to do then is to say let's do local number and we want it to square. So if we say okay, so number as our local variable is equal to the number that's been passed through times itself. Okay, so if we were to, at the moment we're going to do, we'll just do a GFX write on that. Now we will get into how we can pass that back, okay, in a later thing there, but let's just do that. And then when we call our thing here, square me, let's say we set that to 4. Okay, expected brackets near. Oh, it's me missing out my lets. Okay. Okay, and we can see that that's worked. Okay, now what's actually happened there then is I've placed this into the brackets when I've created the function here, and this becomes a parameter, which is a bit like, well, inside of this function it's a bit like a variable, and we use it just like a variable, except that we don't have to declare it with a local keyword or anything else. We declare it effectively by placing it inside the brackets. It has a name just like any other variable, and then we can use it like a variable inside of this function, just like we have here. Okay, so we do that, and then obviously when I create, or when I call the function, we can see that we have to pass in this case a number, because this is a number variable. So let's just sort of see what happens when we don't do that. Okay, so this says function square me needs 1 parameter, but you have supplied 0. So that makes sense, doesn't it? It's telling us exactly what's wrong with our thing there. We need 1 parameter, but we've only passed 0. Okay, so this is requiring now 1 parameter to be passed to it, but we've passed 0 in the brackets there, and so therefore it won't work. Okay, so if I change that, try that now, then we should get 81. Okay, as our return value. Now, if we wanted to use more than one parameter, then we would place it in here, okay, and we would do a comma before the next parameter, and if we've got more parameters than that, then each of them needs to be separated with a comma, okay, and obviously we'd need to make sure that that same number would match in there in terms of what we do. Okay, so that is using parameters in your own functions that you've created.